Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to the DraftKings DFS Slate preview. It's been a while since my last Slate breakdown, just because it was an FA Cup and EFL Cup week last week, and contests don't really warrant a video for that. But right back into the swing of things with this Tuesday Premier League DFS slate. Interestingly enough, it would be a four-gamer if they had that Liverpool game, which starts 30 minutes later than the other three. But they chose to not include it, which I think is probably for the better. Now we have a uniform lock time, and we'll have more time having all the lineups. When we'd have like Liverpool, we'd be 15, 30 minutes less time of building. So I'm a big fan of that choice. I hope they continue to do that in the future. And then Liverpool is the showdown, so like you still have them covered in that sense. So I really like what they're doing there. There's actually a lot of like slates for Tuesday. We've got like a Serie A game two and like an early interleague. And yeah, I think that DraftKings is doing really well with contests for it. And it's another reason to check out the FSI Discord and website linked below, where I will be covering all those slates, even those showdowns and smaller slates that I don't talk about on video. All right, but now let's just get into the lineups and set pieces, or projected lineups, that is, for Brentford and Man City. For Brentford, it should be Jensen and Mbeumo splitting. For City, I expect it to be De Bruyne and Foden. Chelsea and Bournemouth, Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez likely. And then for Bournemouth in this lineup, probably Kluivert and David Brooks. If Chris, or no, not Kluivert, sorry, Lewis Cook and David Brooks. If Cook doesn't play, it'll be Kluivert. But another guy to think about is also Ryan Christie, who I don't see in projected, but he is another left-footed option, and he might have priority over Brooks. They're like a straight right-footed, left-footed split team. So it's pretty simple in that sense, but there's a lot of guys who could end up with that role because there's like Christie, Brooks, Cook, Kluivert, who have all taken in the past. Cook is like the guy who is certainly taking something. I feel like Kluivert's kind of the backup to him for the right-footed option. And then for lefty, like I said, Christie, Brooks, they haven't played together very much. I feel like it'd be Brooks, but that's just a hunch. I hope they don't start both of them either way. West Ham and Fulham. West Ham are a little bit strange. Graham Potter, he second game, first Premier League game coaching. For their last FA Cup game, they were really interesting against Aston Villa. It was Scarles who started at left back, splitting with Somerville. And then Sofal came in off the bench for Somerville, and he ended up splitting. I don't think Scarles will end up playing this league game. Somerville, I know, also came out with that knock, so he's not guaranteed to start this one. They don't have him in projected, but he could very well end up starting. But they're just going to be hard to predict while Potter gets settled. I think Soler would probably be the most likely set piece taker. I don't think that Sofal would take over him. And if they continue to go with kind of a righty-lefty split that Graham Potter did in his first game, I guess it'd be Paqueta. Maybe Kudus could take. Paqueta was really like super solid looking against Villa, playing more wide. I'd like be super tempted by that, even without set pieces. So that's another interesting thing to look at. Under Potter's West Ham, they look a lot better. I know it's only been one game, but they look super solid against Aston Villa. I know they lost, but it looks like a marketable improvement on Lopetegui already, just off of our small sample size. So I'm interested to see what West Ham do. And for Fulham, in this lineup, it should be Wilson and Lukic, but Pereira could play and he'd be the main guy. Wilson might not even start and could be like a Lukic monopoly if they go with like Adama there, or Reece Nelson's injured, I guess. But if Adama ends up starting wide, like they're another kind of wait and see team. But like I said, this lineup should be Wilson and Lukic. Prices now. Holland, super expensive, 11,500. Always been solid. I haven't looked at goal scoring odds yet, but I'm sure he's minus. The problem is that you likely need two goals to pay off at this price range. I don't anticipate him having a ton of floor. I know he had 6 shots against Leicester, but I think Brentford are quite a bit better than them. And we've seen Holland have quiet games quite a bit. It's a big decision as usual. It's just whether you want to risk it in cash. Savinha, 9,900. Didn't have his greatest game for their FA Cup game, but he's been super solid in the league. They subbed him off early, I'm sure, in anticipation for the league game. 9,900, a little steep. I think it's a decision. Same with Doku, like all these city guys, always a healthy debate. Neto, I don't mind. I think I'd at price, I think I'd rather go him over a Doku or a Savinha. Jimenez, probably my GPP for me. And Kunku, if he plays, would be solid. Jackson, kind of man. Jackson. Like I said, he continues to lose minutes to and Kunku to Felix as they continue to rotate their attackers. He's been just not great form. Iwobi's had a super solid floor. I'm saying I just don't know how sustainable that is. Although he's sustained it for quite a while. I think he's okay. I don't think there's any true like clear lock forwards here like you see on some other sites. Like there's no like Saka or Gordon. Makes it pretty wide open. Like it's not a great matchup for Man City, which makes it me not as hot in Holland as I have been in the past. But like with some of these cheap Chelsea attackers, if they end up somehow starting, I'd be tempted by Felix or Reece Nelson. Adam Traore at 5,600 would be super tempting. Show at 6,200. I think I said I'd love that. He probably will start too. What other guys I'd think about for cash? If there's no Lewis Cook, I could get behind a Clivert. If Somerville ends up starting, I get behind that for 4,500. But yeah, like I said, there's like no clear lock forward here for cash. I think you can go a lot of different ways. Midfielders, this is the truest lock on the slate for cash games. It is Cole Palmer and super solid upside floor. He has the lots. Like I'd go him over De Bruyne and Foden for sure, just because he's got a home matchup. De Bruyne and Foden have not really shown quite the same upside that Palmer is having. De Bruyne has kind of just not really gotten going since coming back from injury. Foden's been better, but he's not always a guaranteed 90 just because Man City have a lot of attackers back now. Doku, Savinho, a lot of guys can rotate in. Like there's no attacking injuries here, except Bob who hasn't been available all season, and Rodri, of course, who doesn't really affect the minutes of those attackers. So yeah, I just go Cole Palmer over both those guys, especially at home. And I think Brentford could give Man City a real game. Mbuemo, I think, is a tough matchup. I think these Fulham guys, Wilson or Pereira, whoever ends up starting. I'd go Pereira over Wilson if they both play. I hope they wouldn't, though. I think Wilson's the more likely starter here. It's because Pereira started in the FA Cup. Probably ends up being a Wilson game, and he's super tempting at that price. I think it's going to be quite a bit of mid-range mids that you can really get behind. Kudus at 5,800 feels criminal. I don't think he's been that cheap all season. He hasn't. Oh, he has once against Man City, which is crazy because they're playing Fulham now, who aren't quite at the same level, let's just say. But yeah, 5,800 Kudus is so cheap. Enzo Fernandez at 700, great value too. Mid is wide open here after Palmer. I think it's likely a three mid slate, just which combo you go. Like I'm gonna throw out some names here. Kudus, Fernandez, Paquetá. I think there was one more I was thinking about if I can find him. Those are like the main ones I was thinking of though. But like Lukic, that's another one. Like there's a lot of really tempted mids. It's just what combo you go after Palmer. That only gives you two extra potential mids to take, and that's what makes it difficult because there's so many of these super nice 5 to 6K guys, and Lukic lower than that. Pretty difficult slate. Defenders. Similarly to forwards, there's not a true standout lock. There's not a single set piece taker among these guys, or there's some potentially. Like if Reece James plays, he'd probably be a set taker, but I think it's a long shot. He's still coming back from injury. They gave him 45 in the FA Cup. I think he probably gets. I don't think they'll start him. He might start to go 60. He'd be tempting if he starts. Like I might get baited by that. But other than him, like likely set piece takers who start potentially so far, you could argue. I think Soler probably starts though. I just feel like he'd end up having priority over him. But at 3,100, I don't think so far is a bad play by any means. I think this West Ham Fulham game could be pretty end to end, and they're all pretty cheap. So I like all those guys really. Then the other big name is Robinson on this slate. Not a set piece taker, but just has had a fantastic floor. Probably been best left back in the league, I'd say. And I don't think it's by an even close margin. I think there's a lot of guys who have regressed, and he's kind of played better, or he's kind of upped his game a lot. Look at this. He's been super solid for DFS. I could see just playing Robinson naked even. Just don't even play another foam set piece taker. Just go him. I think he just gets there on his own, especially playing left wing back like they've been doing lately. He might even end up in my chords because I feel like there's so little true lock plays here outside of Palmer. I think a lot of debatable positions. And I think Robinson is just a safe floor when there's not a ton of that in his position on this slate. Like, I think the other guys I'm thinking about here, Gusto, he's okay, but Reece James, like we have to worry about coming on for him a little bit. Then I'm just like, and then there's like nothing. Like the payups are just not worth to me. Gavardio, I'm just not in love with. Castagne, I'm not in love with. Kirk, I think it's just a tough matchup is the issue there. Then you're into 3Ks already. It's only a three gamer, so there's only so many defenders that are there. And there's quite a bit of value. I think if not going the Robinson route, you can go for like a double punt, like Juan Bissaka and Sofal, or who else can start? Like a punt center back, like Caldwell or something. Cresswell, I'd love if he started. He'd probably take two if he played. Same Scarles if they let him play again. That's something to keep an eye out for sure. But like I said, there's not a ton here. That's what makes Robinson so appealing. In terms of a core or goalkeeper, let's talk about first. Crapshoot. Talk about goalkeeper. In terms of a core, Palmer. And then it's really hard. It's hard to put another midfielder because there's just so many options. And you can really go any of them and not go that wrong. Like Kudus, like Enzo, like Pereira, Wilson, Lukic, any of those guys and any combo of those guys, I think will be completely fine. Because of that, probably go Robinson. And then in a third defender slot, there's a high chance I end up just going Sofal or Cresswell or whoever ends up starting there. I did. How much was Soler? I didn't even see him. Yeah, another 3K guy. Just like I said, mid is so stacked for just decent cheap options. It's hard to go forward. I really don't want to force that. But if I was, I might go like a Sancho and like a core, just because cheap exposure to the best matchup on the slate. But it's a really open slate. Like I said, for a more accurate core, closer to lock, like I said, check out the FSI Discord website below. But yeah, guys, I'll see you for the next one and good luck.